All right, here we go. Here we go. Hey, everybody, how's it going? It is time for the podcast now. My name is Pierre Hulsebus, and you are tuning in to the Hustle is the Hack podcast. And you are speaking or listening to the Chief Hacker, Pierre Hulsebus. Or the Chief Hustler. It depends on what time of day it is, apparently. But right now, it is Saturday afternoon, and it is time to record the podcast today. And I'm so excited about our time together. Who am I? I am Pierre Hulsebus with over 30 years of direct technology sales experience, and I am here to help. During the next podcast, we're going to help you get your sales game on, your selling game. I'm going to help you identify and acquire the most valuable asset that you can have in business. And what is that? It is not your employees. Sorry. It's not your building. Sorry. It is a customer. Without them, nothing is going to happen. You just have a club of grumpy people. That is what the company is if you don't have any customers, because cash is king. And nothing happens until somebody sells something. It all starts with customers, and sadly, oh so sadly, it will come to a crashing end when you don't have any more customers. So whoever dies with the most customers wins. How do I do this? How does this podcast work? Well, what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about stuff. We're going to talk about the latest innovations in business and technology that will help you make a better, proven methods. And we're going to talk about modes and models and just different things. And tech. I'm a tech guy. I had a pinch of my 30 years of technology sales experience. Managing, I've pretty much done everything that you can imagine in that game. So here you go. We put that all together in the stack of stuff, and we kind of mix it up, and out comes this amazing analysis. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast. Okay, so now this is bonus footage right here. This is right here, my friends, is we are on a video podcast today. So I'm on YouTube here recording my podcast as we go along. And so I'm editing and we're just going to show you kind of a bit of the process that we go through. Well, not really show you because I don't have another camera. I just have one camera. I want to get an overhead camera so I can kind of show you what's going on here in the incredible control center of the Hustle is the HIT studio, as I like to call it. The Hustle is the Hack HIT studio. And so in the HIT studio, this is Hitsville, USA is what this really is. And so we're going to show you kind of how we do this. But so anyways, the first part of putting the podcast together is always the audio, the introduction. We got to have an introduction. And then right during this time right here is when the commercial shows up here. So there's a commercial. And so now we're going to come back from that from the break. It's so exciting. And so we're going to have a second piece of music. And so I have to come up with another piece of music here. Let me do that. I should have this all set up. Let's see. I kind of like this one here. This is kind of nondescript music. Let's use that one. Okay. All right, here we go. We're going to start now. 3, 2, 1. And we're back from the break. Thank you very much. Welcome to the podcast again. It's number 2. Welcome, baby. All right. So we're in the Hustle is the Hack studio, and we are about to get the game on. I'm telling you right now how exciting. I can't tell you how difficult this week has been trying to get this podcast done. I'm working, if you're listening to the audio part, which, you're having this great audio experience. You're getting theater of the mind. You're hearing my dulcet tones coming across my incredible audio sound system that's enhancing my voice, giving it the best quality that you can have. And you have these premium headphones that you're listening maybe on your iPhone, and you've got that premium headphones. And so you should be hearing just an incredible audio delight. And now what we're trying to do is take that same audio experience and bring that over to YouTube. And so that's a little different. I'm going to try. I don't know if it's going to work or how well it's going to work. But you would not believe how difficult it is actually to get audio on a really nice camera, a really good audio together on the same piece of MP4 file that you send up to YouTube. So it's kind of crazy. But anyways, we're trying to make this because we have actually a day job too that we have to do. So I can't take forever to do all of this stuff. And so I have to make it so that it's easy. It's very low in terms of production, but kind of getting there. So anyways, enough about me. How are you doing? I hope you're having a great week. This week for me, what has been it's a lot of fun stuff. I met so many new people this week. My day job, I do a lot of training and onboarding of new technical sales specialists. That's my job. I work at this little company in Redmond, Washington. For full disclosure, actually, I read that this week. What is my social media rules that I have at Microsoft? So I have to disclose that I work at Microsoft. So, I do work at Microsoft. My job, you can go on LinkedIn and see what I do for a living. I run sales readiness for a couple products at Microsoft. But this show really is not about Microsoft. It is about you. And who are you? Who are you, Pierre? Who are you? Who is that person over there on the other end of the podcast? Well, if I'm doing my job right, I'm trying to attract young folks and people that are new to the selling game. And you're trying to, do all of this stuff and trying to learn how to be a better salesperson. And that's what this is all about. If you're in technical sales, great. You're going to learn some stuff. that's my background has been in account and technology sales for all of this time. I started selling computers back in 1989. So it's been a little while. As I was saying, over 30 years of doing this. I sold my first computer at Highland Superstores. In fact, I got to show you this. There you go. You make a lot of sounds when you get my age, but this is kind of fun. For y'all that are, this is on my YouTube channel. This is a award that I got when I was working at Highland. So this proves I worked at Highland Superstores. It was like Employee of the Month. And I was in the right place at the right time. So this is from 1990. Back in the day, computers were just starting to show up in retail. And so I was at that first wave when computers showed up in the retail stores. And so today it's super common. Like obviously you can go to Costco and buy, $2,000 computer. But back in the day, if you were wanted to have a computer at home, it was actually really expensive and complicated. There was only a few places that a person could go and buy a personal computer. The store actually, believe it or not, one of the places that was out there was Sears. They had a thing called the Sears Business Centers, and it was like a computer store. And they had a company that basically ran their store, and they branded it and they sold IBM computers out of those stores, and very expensive. And you could go to the AT&T store, believe it or not, back then too, and they sold NEC computers there. And I worked for that Highland Superstores, and it's kind of like a Best Buy. It was a retail. We sold appliances and stuff like that. And then we sold computers, and we sold Packard Bell. That was the main, and Epson computers and Panasonic, those were kind of some of the brands that we sold back then. And so back then, computers were still expensive. It's really interesting. It was a couple $1,000s you're spending for a computer. And the first computers that I remember selling were 8088s is what they were. Called XT computers. So those are 8-bit computers with IBM compatible architecture. And it was, a lot of them would have maybe 256K of memory in them. Back then, the most you could have in a computer was 512K of RAM. It's just crazy to think, this little, I'm holding this up here in my hand for all y'all. I have my entire podcast and life can fit on this little SD card, this little teeny tiny thing that has 32 gigabytes of memory on this thing that's, about as big as a thumbnail. It's a little teeny tiny thing. And those computers back then only could, you had the big hard drive was like a 20 meg hard drive. This little file here is like $25 for this, and this stores 30 gigabytes. It's crazy to think of how far we've come in this business and in just technology as a whole. So I kind of feel very fortunate that I was born at that time, because today, in 2021, I am a seasoned person. I've seen the life cycle of personal computers, Microsoft and Windows, from when it first started all the way to where we are today. So kind of having that perspective is really helpful. And part of really, I would say, the secret, if you will, of anybody that's super successful is doing the same thing or focusing on the same thing for a long time. And this is, I'm going to talk a little bit about this from time to time. I'll refer back to the Pareto Principle. That's very plosive. So in the microphone, there's a lot of P's. The Pareto Principle, which is a mathematic theory that talks about the distribution of goods. And it's really interesting that when you want to take advantage of this, it's like when you play Monopoly. There's a lot of discussion in society today about the unequal distribution of wealth. But it's not just in wealth. It's the unequal distribution of anything that's creative, anything that has a creative action to it, like a podcast, movies, books, art, albums, whatever you want to tell. That principle plays out. You have, look at just go on Amazon, and I'm a voracious reader of books, and you'll see that most of the books are from a very few people. Now, there's millions of books every year that are printed out, but the actual book sales, it tilts to about 1%. Make about 1% of all printed books represent about 30% of all book sales. The same thing happens with music. If you look in the music business, you've got a handful of musicians that print their music out and sell it, and that consumes 40 to 50% of all of the music that's sold around the world comes from a teeny tiny group of people. The same thing in real estate sales, the same thing in business. It happens that you just play the game of Monopoly, and it seems like you have rolling the dice, and it's a random choice, and everybody has the same opportunities. But the wealth in the game of Monopoly all tends to one person. And so, and it's just the way the principles of math and choices work over time. And so it's kind of a little bit of a math situation. So anyways, the reason I mention that is a lot of people come to a podcast like this and they're looking for tips and tricks, and I'm going to give you that stuff. But one of the biggest tip is just work your butt off for a long time on the same stuff. And over time, you will become an expert at that. And once you become an expert, now all of a sudden, it's like leveling up in your game in a Xbox game or something like that. Now I have more experience points. That means I get better weapons than everybody else does. And then I can wail on the losers, and you can, in fact, in the gaming world, what they have to do is they have to have these ranking systems to make it fair, because that's exactly what happens. Anytime you play, like I'm a kind of a casual gamer when it comes to this. I have a couple games I like to play a lot, but on these multiplayer games, I just get killed all the time because I'm not super great, because you're not playing every day. I'm not 17 or 16 years old or worse, 12 playing Call of Duty. If you go into Call of Duty, you just get wailed on if you don't know how to play. And that's that same thing that's happened. Those folks have played a long time on it. They're really great at it. I'm not so great at it. They just wail on you. And so I'm the loser. And when I lose, they get more points. I get less points. And so that's exactly what happens in the sales game too. And so if you continue to focus and bring focus on something over and over again, that is where persistence and kind of the hustle, so to speak, of this whole thing comes into play. Hustle, so that's kind of the concept behind hustle is the hack. That is the hack, is hustling your butt off on focus for something for a long period of time, and at some point in time you will get better at it. So that's kind of the idea behind all of that. Anyways, with that said, I'm going to take a break right now, and we will be right back. We're going to talk to what are some of the best strategies for sales beginners. So that's coming up right after this important message from your sponsor. Okay, all right, podcast. Okay, YouTubies. Okay, now we have to find another song. I gotta find another song here. Let's try this song here. Is this one here? Yeah, this one. No, that's it. We're gonna do that one. There we go. That's a good one. I like this. I use it for work every once in a while. It's kind of fun. Okay, we're gonna use that one. Hey, how's it going? We are back from our break. It's a little focus, a little tip, a little kind of inspirational discussion there at the beginning. So now what we want to transition over to is are some of the sales tips. And when we talk about tips, and I have a little bit of an inside joke, and I'm going to let you in on my inside joke. So it's so inside that I only know about it. So that's kind of the funny part. So I'm going to let you in on my little joke here. Here's the joke. Here's the thing. So a lot of YouTube and the way that social media works, it attracts people that like to have simple answers to complicated problems, right? And so you kind of go, here's the 18.2 tips to do this or do that, or, how to cook something. We love to, watch the Food Network or whatever and show somebody kind of breaking down how to make something in a very simple way. We are attracted to that because we like simple answers to complicated problems. And when you go to a French restaurant, though, I've been to some of the, fancy French restaurant with like a 3 Michelin star place, right? And you're walking out that place and you're just going, oh my gosh, this food is so fantastic. And what you will never see from that place is how to make chicken, a duck à l'orange in 4 easy steps. You will never see that, right? Because it's more complicated than 4 easy steps. And so I have this challenge, right, that I have to deal with, is how do I attract folks with simple tips and yet, knowing that it's a lot more complicated than just tips. And so it's kind of a little bit of an inside joke. So when you see like 6.3 reasons, that's my kind of thumbing my nose at the person that's attracted to this. I'm kind of baiting them in, so to speak. And then when they come in here into the podcast and the website, they're getting to the, hey, that is a lot more complicated than I thought. Anyways, so with that said, we are going to go over 5 pro tips for beginners. What are 5 things that you can do every week and to continue to hone your craft? So if you're new into selling, you're trying to develop some basic skills, and it can be a little overwhelming. So it's with all sorts of new stuff coming at you, new information coming all the time, dynamics, changes in the marketplace. You're kind of looking for kind of North Stars. What are some kind of core things that I can kind of drive down the road, and then as stuff comes, it's not too much of a distraction. I can get back on path easy. So these are some of those kind of core principles that you're going to find. Number one on the list is know everything about your product. This one is about as the most important part of what you need to do. You really need to know your product or your market. We're going to talk a little bit about that next, but it's important that you understand not only how your product functions, but the specific features that help solve specific problems for your customers. That you're an ambassador of the product. And a lot of us don't actually use the product that we're selling. It's really interesting. We're not users of the product. So if you're selling ball bearings, or I had a customer once, they sold casters. So, casters on chairs, like that's a whole industry. There's a whole caster industry. You got to have casters that hold up millions of pounds worth of weight on very heavy equipment as it gets moved around in the shop. And so, you have to have casters that are pneumatic, that can go over bumps. It's a whole business. But the caster salesman, the only casters he uses or she uses every day are maybe the ones that are on their office chair. So often we are not users and consumers of our product. So it is important for us to understand the product completely, because we don't come from a place where we understand it, especially if you're brand new. If I'm new in the caster sales, I maybe never even knew that NASA needs, giant casters, and the military requires casters to move guns around the machine shop as they're being manufactured or repaired. Like, these are things that a lot of people wouldn't know about and wouldn't understand the market. So if you're coming out of college or just got hired into an account management position at a place and you don't use the product or even came from the product, this is why this is number one for you. This has to be the core thing. It's not answering the phones, because it gets you to know quicker if you don't know the product and you're out there kind of in battle, not well equipped. So this is the equipping of your skill set. You've got a framework and a close plans, and you've got your CRM system. You got all these tools out there to get it done. But at the end of the day, none of that matters if you can't have a good, significant business conversation with somebody. So you need to understand the purpose of all the features and not make a bunch of crap up about what you think the customer needs. You have to understand all of these features and the benefits of every one of the features. So some of the basic questions you need to provide great answers to your customers are things like, hey, I have a problem. Does your product offer a feature that will help solve it? You need to know these answers ahead of time. What are the kind of technology do I need to access that feature? So, oh, great, you're selling this feature and it requires, let's say a certain voltage, and we don't have that voltage in our shop. We run a different voltage system. Or, hey, we're selling software and it doesn't run on Macintosh, and we're selling into ad agencies or into education space where everybody runs, Apple computers. To what extent is the product customizable for our needs? So it's not just understanding the product, but how does it fit within a customer's, world? What do I do after? So if I have a problem with the widget, how do we access your support and service? Customers aren't just buying only the product. Often they're buying service of the product. If you're in manufacturing, they're buying not just the product, but how it works in their shop, and are you going to be there next year to fix the thing? Who's going to take care of the maintenance and all of that? So some of those things and values have very little to do with the product itself. It has to do with how your company services the product or delivers the product or service that you have. And the other question is, be ready for the how much is this going to cost me? And it's important to understand the difference between cost and price. Like, the price is what you pay today for something, but the cost is how much is it going to cost me altogether by the time we're installed and I start doing maintenance on this product? Or is there, after market services, or am I going to have to replace it, after so many usages? What is the cost? If you're selling Netflix, the cost you pay, it's $8 a month. Well, not really, or $10 a month, or whatever it is. It requires an internet connection. And so if if my customer doesn't have an internet connection, it ain't going to work. So the cost of owning that product requires a television. It requires, devices. It requires an internet service, all of that kind of stuff. When you add those together, if you've ever gone down the road, hey, we're going to cut our cable. We're going to get rid of cable because it's so darn expensive. And then you okay, I'm going to go to, we're just going to do Netflix and Google TV or something like that. And that's going to be our cost cutting. Guess what? You still have to buy internet service on top of that. You have to have a router. You have to have network infrastructure in your house to be able to take advantage of these internet-based services. So the cost is actually what folks want to understand. So that is number 1 on the list. Number 2 on the list. This is a scary one, actually. Often a lot of companies don't teach you this, and this is something that you have to kind of own or learn, and you structure this. And this is it is understanding the prospect's pain points. Okay. So if you don't have a fancy marketing department, or you don't have, let's say, a sales kind of management layer that is experienced in this, a lot of times most companies will focus on them. They give you the sales deck and the sales pitch, and it's all about, hey, we've been in business for 47 years and we're awesome, and we look at our customers and here's all the awards that we have. And so, if you don't like us, something is obviously wrong with you. We are awesome. And that's kind of what happens. A lot of companies focus on themselves, their product. We're engineered. We've got 47 years of experience in this, blah, 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 blah. And what the customer is saying on their side is they're like, I don't really care anything about this. I don't care about you. I don't care about your product. I only care about solving my problem. And if you can help solve my problem, I'm willing to entertain my time and have a discussion. But if I don't feel there's value in this for me, then you are gone. Sayonara, suckerface. I want you to get out of my office, you insipid moron. And this is where, this is what happens. Yes, this is you getting beat up. This is you. I love that stuff. This is you getting beat up by the prospect, as he is basically saying to you, you are a moron. This is all about me. The prospects really have a singular interest, solving whatever problems they are experiencing. Going on about the magnificence of your product, and it only gets you so far. Sometimes it is a door opener. I will be very honest with you. When I realized this when I worked for AT&T. I was a salesperson for AT&T back in the mid 90s. And one of the things that you realize when you work for, let's say, the industry leader, I have this in my current position too, my current company that I work for, Microsoft. That is a door opener. That will definitely help open doors. When you are perceived as the leader in the business, you have the most to offer. Often most companies will, that opens doors for you. Hey, this is Pierre from Microsoft. And so it's, Microsoft has a perspective on this. We didn't even know that you guys sold that software or had a solution in that. Sure, let's talk. They want to know about what, leaders in the business are doing. So the same thing was with AT&T. We were the leaders in the business. We had the very best at the time network. The only thing anybody could beat us on was price. That was all they could. There was no company on the planet that had better service or infrastructure and reliability, which are all the things that you need when you're, buying networking infrastructure. Than the company that I worked for. So of course, every company that we talked to would be, a potential prospect for us. And you could often start out with these. You can use that to your advantage. Sometimes it becomes a disadvantage because a lot of times they just want to use you to lower somebody else, to get your bid, to get your price. So then they can take that to your competitor and go, well, look at what, AT&T is giving us. They're giving us at this price. We need you guys to be 20% less than that because, their stuff is better, but we're willing to take a little more risk, but you have to lower your price. So sometimes you're just being used, and you have to identify identify that quickly and don't play along with that game. You kind of like, if you're just looking for a price, I'm not going to be it. And I've had this is a trial close you can do when you're in that position. You can kind of say, hey, guess what? I'm going to give you a pricing, and it's confidential. You can't share it. Here's the NDA. You make a customer sign the NDA, which most often they disclose anyways, or they violate that. I've seen that happen 1,000 times. They somehow magically, I don't know how it happens, but that price lands over on Sprint's desk all the time, or MCI's desk. They figured out what your price was. Interesting. So you basically say, hey, I am going to be 20% more than everybody else, and there's nothing I can do about that. That is just the way that this industry works. We are more expensive than everybody else. We have, and you can list all of the benefits that we have. I can tell you that nobody else has those standards, and I'm willing to entertain the conversation. But if it comes down to price at the end, I'm going to be very upset if you don't use our system because of price, and we're going to be done. I'm not going to come back, and we're not going to be partners with you anymore if it's just on price alone. If that's the only reason you want, then their conversation is done, because we are going to be more expensive. And you can be, if you have the right product and the right service, you can be super confident in that. And you can be confident in that if you're selling professional services. Nobody wants the cheapest lawyer. If you're in business development for a professional service firm and you're working with, let's say, an awesome CPA firm or an awesome law office or engineering firm, who wants to hire the cheapest engineer in the world? Nobody wants the cheapest engineer. So you're never going to walk in the door and say, our price is going to be cheaper. And so you want to, you're walking in the door knowing and understanding what pain points you're solving of the customer, and the pain point cannot be, we're paying too much for this other thing. If that's the pain point, then I want to usually walk away from that conversation. I'm qualifying them off my list. I've got more important prospects to deal with. So prospects really, though, have this singular interest. They're solving their problem. So it can't be about you. You want to know how your product benefits them directly, like specifically, what is the thing that your stuff does that makes their day better? And if that is lowering costs, or if that is if there's increasing business value or whatever it is, it's solving their daily problem. It's a better mousetrap, so to speak. So in each interaction you have with this prospect, you're going to ask them questions that help identify what their pain points are. So if you're brand new to the game, this is how you can play this game. You can say, hey, I'm new to this. I'm not part of this industry. I'm just starting new. Can you help me out? Help me understand exactly some of the challenges you are doing. And when I was selling and working in consulting for many years, we had one magic question. Most consultants know this. It is, you have had this problem for many years. Let's go. Our customers go to our website and they're not finding out enough information about us. And then, so our attach rate between the website and the close is bad. And so the leads aren't getting followed up on, and we've got this beautiful website, but our leads aren't getting followed up on. So that's a problem for us. So and so that's the problem statement maybe the customer has, and you can kind of explore that problem and what's the impact of that, and the implications of that, and what do they particularly need. And then the question that you can ask is, well, what have you done to solve that problem? And why has that not worked? So this is a really good way to kind of probe into the thinking of the customer, how they've addressed this problem before. This is usually not something that they're unaware of. You're not usually showing them something they don't know about. You're helping them, you're helping yourself understand the problem. What is really the problem? And you can just keep asking this, like, so what? And so what does that mean? And so how? And you're just very open-ended about this. What are your expectations? Do you have budget constraints? How do you guys justify, or how do you manage the costing of this? How do you value this kind of thing? And just be super open. I am always open in those kind of conversations, because guess who learns out of this? You do. You're the learner. And you can kind of use this a little like a rope-a-dope sometimes, because you're not coming off as a pushy salesperson, you're coming off as somebody sincerely looking for help in terms of helping outlet, kind of help me, help you kind of component. And that's what we love, that Jerry Maguire movie, because that was his attitude. I got one customer. I'm desperate to keep you. How can I help you? Help me, help you. And so when you're new in sales, this is a really good tactic to use, having that beginner's mindset and that beginner's journey. A lot has actually been shown, especially in retail sales back in the day. Several studies were done that the new guys actually do really well out of the box. And then later on, they become not as great. And part of it is this beginner's mindset and this learner's kind of journey that so many people are on. And that's what you're kind of doing, is you're kind of going, hey, we're, kind of figuring stuff out. So anyways, understand their pain points. It's important that you actively listen to their answers. Too many salespeople are just engaged in pushing and selling their stuff, and they forget that the salesperson that's doing the best job is God told you, he put it in our anatomy of how we learn. He gave us one mouth, 2 ears, and 2 eyes. And so we can observe and we can listen. We need to do that in this, and we can talk. So you have different choices in the way that you can learn. So and you didn't learn a lot by talking. So you have to use these in proportion. God gave you 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in the same proportion when you're selling. So you kind of look around and you listen, you ask some questions, and shut your mouth and listen. And the more you do that, the more you're centering your solution or your pitch around their specific needs. And you're not a know-it-all that I know more than you, Mr. Customer. You may know more, without a doubt. You're maybe way more expert at this, but you have to show empathy. And this is how we build trust. And so this is like that core principle of trust. How do you build trust with a customer or a prospect that you've never met before? And there's several ways, and I'm going to talk about one more after this one. This is the key. This is one of the key ones of building trust with a prospect, is listening to them. Sometimes it's listening and repeating what they say. And then let them, from what I understand, what you said is, your problem with your lead conversion is you guys are looking to kind of have some sort of automation in that particular part of your business, and then keep track of the leads as they come through. Is that kind of what I'm understanding correctly? And that gives the opportunity for that person, that prospect, to clarify your understanding. You're basically telling them what you heard. And guess who does this really well? McDonald's. This is the McDonald's close. This is McDonald's level communication. You go up to the drive-through, and you got the kids in the back, and they're arguing with each other. They're back there, and there's all sorts of noise in the car. All the other things are going on. No, you can't hear, and there's somebody yelling. And it's getting worse. It's just getting worse. And there's crying happening. The children are crying in the background, and there's all sorts of noise happening. And you're trying to get your order through.
2 cheeseburgers, a hamburger, another burger,
Of course, nobody's going to do that. They can't hear you. And so the person repeats the order, and then you have a chance to correct the order. So when it comes through, it's on the money. It's correct. And so this is the McDonald's close. This is McDonald's communication model, is basically just repeat what you hear and try to put it in your own words or put it in their words to characterize the idea. And that's how we can build some rapport with folks and building trust. So that's number 2, understand the prospect's pain points. Okay, number 3 on the list today is know your customers in advance. Now, there is no excuse for this today. There is none at all. There's a little application if you're in business to business selling. It's called LinkedIn. You go to LinkedIn, you're going to look at the company, you're going to see how many employees they have, you're going to see how much growth they've had in their employee, how much they've hired. You can see who their competitors are. You're going to see, there's no excuse today to not understand a company. and their background. So knowing them in advance before you open your stupid mouth. Now, I've screwed this up myself many times. I did one big boo-boo a couple years ago, actually. I was working with a little company called HP, and HP has done has grown and changed over the years, and they spun off a business unit called like HP Services or HP Enterprises or something like that. So like they still make printers and stuff like that, but they have a whole nother business that does professional services. And so I was called in to talk to that business about a product as a subject matter expert on the product. So I had my pitch already. I had my deck all put together, and I went out to, I should put their logo in there. And so I went out and went to the internet and took an HP logo. Oh, there's the logo. Everybody's seen the logo. It's their brand. And I brought it in, and I put it on a couple pieces of equipment that we were talking about. And so I made it look really cool and stuff like that. And so then we got to the first slide in the deck, and the sales guys ribbing me like, dude, that's the wrong logo. And so it's like, dude, I have this in like almost every slide in this deck. I have that logo. So we had to kind of crash and burn the deck. And go like, oh, I'm having problems with my deck right now. Sorry about that. So anyways, let's continue the conversation. And I just used this as an outline. But I immediately showed that prospective customer that I didn't know them. I did not know. I was literally using the wrong logo for them. And we've seen it. Oh, I've seen this happen. And it's like that is instant death in a presentation, is to use it's like calling somebody by the wrong name. It's just like, it just shows you don't know them. And so you really want to know them in advance, who the people are, what their buying influence is in the organization. There's so much research you can do on companies, and being well prepared for a meeting demonstrates that not only are you competent and knowledgeable, but you care enough to present and be confident in your interactions with them. You could be confident with them. And so I was just not well prepared. I was prepared for the pitch, but I lost him at hello, basically. Hello, my name is Pierre, and we're today here going to talk about my awesome solution that my team works on. And we really think you guys would just benefit so much from it. Here, let me show my first slide about, our discovery call that we had with you the other day. And I've got all the wrong logos on there. So every slide that I'm going through, I'm just losing more and more people in the audience until somebody speaks up. So it's like back channel text, while you're in the meeting, you're getting ribbed by the guy. He's like, stop showing those slides, you moron. So that was how we ended that call. Anyways, it's just a lot of people just don't take the amount of time it takes. Prep is everything. And so if it takes you 10 minutes to prep for that call, you better do it. Do the prep work. Developing that develops trust. And again, this is what we're trying to do, especially in the prospecting phase, that you are working on trust. You are trying to develop trust. People buy from people that they know, that they like, and they trust. And so people can know you, believe it or not, before you even talk to them. Like they go out on LinkedIn and figure out who you are. Oh, Pierre Hulsebus is coming in to visit us today, and he's going to give us a pitch. And they're going to go out. And in fact, Outlook does this stuff now. If you're using CRM systems and customer management systems do this. Sales enablement systems do this. It actually goes and figures out who are all the people, and it goes out and pulls all the profiles. And if you're the higher up in the organization you're talking to, when I prepare for proposals that go to executives, and I bring an executive in, like a CVP, a corporate vice president level person, there's actually a prep meeting that's happening before the meeting. And we're writing up an entire dossier, literally, of who all the people in the meeting are. It's a lot about curating the meeting to make sure everybody's covered and their peers are talking to peers and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, this is the kind of work that you do ahead of time. And if you don't do it, it shows through, and it also shows you don't really care, and you want to show that you care. And this is how you build trust. And this goes to the fourth one on the list. What is the fourth one on the list? This is the scary one, because this one here involves not talking. And a lot of salespeople love to talk. What this is actually doing. So you talk the talk. This is, can you walk the walk? It is rule number 4. Always follow up. So in the morning, when you rise, as you get your coffee, as you start to think through what you're going to do with your day, before you get on that phone call and before you attend a meeting for a brand new prospect or work on the proposal that you want to follow up. So you have to find a way. There's no lack of tools today. There's more tools. I mean, literally, some people just have a little notebook and they physically write it down and they check it off the list. And it is that simple. I have a giant whiteboard that sits right over here, and I have a lot of to-dos on all the different projects that I'm working on. And so I can at a glance see what my next item is on those things. I use tools like Planner. I use the to-do list, the to-do application in Microsoft Office. And so whether that's an email that requires a follow-up, or that's a meeting notes that say Pierre is responsible for this, or somebody during a meeting gives me a task and I say, okay, I'll follow up on that. That's what you got to do. Again, this is trust. You're building. There's always this is something everybody agrees on, the importance of the follow-up part. So once you have your prospect you're like, hey, we're engaging and there's some interest. Now I need to follow up. There's a bunch of things. And in fact, I have even coached folks to give yourself tasks to do in the meeting. So you have your first meeting with the customer, and I didn't include this marketing material. Or there's a link to a website I really want you to look at, and I'll send it to you in email. Oh, you mentioned that one thing in the meeting. Hey, I have a great resource. Let me make an introduction to one of the other folks that are in our network. Or, here's a former customer that you want to talk to maybe. Like, these are follow-up items that you have to work on. And if you don't follow up when they're a prospect, they're asking themselves, well, how are they going to treat me when I'm a customer? So following up builds trust. If you don't follow up or have that kind of connection to the person, then it's bad. It's bad. Let's just imagine if you had $1 million proposal, a solution. It cost $1 million, and you got the person on the phone that is the decision maker. And you were able to cut through, just randomly landed in that guy's or that gal's voicemail, and they followed up with you that next morning and said, Pierre, we're really interested in this. And we know it's expensive. It's $1 million, but can you just call me and let's go? And so you follow up. You call them up and you say, hey, 5 minutes, here's the deal. I know all your pain points, all your problems, here's how it's going to cost you $1 million. And they go, that solves our problem. Let's do it. That's not going to happen. No, that never happens. That's never happened. Why? Because you haven't built any trust with them. They don't know who you are from Adam. They don't know your company yet. They don't know if they trust you. So that never happens. No one's going to write that check right away unless I'm selling vacuums door to door, or selling appliances in a store. In the majority of business selling, there's a little bit of a romance that you're doing here. You're basically showing them and telegraphing to them through your actions that you can be trustworthy. And about 80% of sales that are out there broadly in the business to business selling, but even in business to consumer selling, if it's anything of significance, let's say insurance or real estate, it requires about 5 follow-up calls before you'll even get engaged in a significant conversation. Because you may have the customer or the right prospect, but it just may be the wrong timing for them. They may be, if you're selling insurance, it's like, I'm on contract right now. It's too painful to change. I just signed up for another, but next year, let's talk, So that follow-up is really, 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 did I say it was important? I think it's important. If it's not important, so that's going to be it. So, knowing the next steps. So don't let kind of that low open rate on your emails or anything discourage you. You could be a little persistent. Pleasantly persistent is the term I like to use. Be pleasant. Don't be contentious. But this is the quality of your work now is reflecting of what that customer's experience is going to be after you get their money. So it's not enough to sell anymore, just the close part. There's follow-up and stuff that has to happen. So, Again, unless we're selling vacuums door to door or knives or something like that, or let's say World Book encyclopedias, encyclopedias door to door. The follow-up stuff is really, 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 really important. All right. So the last one, and this one is, this has some scariness to it. This really, no. This is what happens. A customer says no, and then we start doing this. They say no because we feel like we're all getting beat up. It's because, we feel beat up. I lost my sale, my precious little sale, and it's that part of. Anyway, we lose our sale. We lost the sale. We got rejected because of price or because they, we weren't talking to the right person or whatever. There's a million reasons why we don't close our sales. And if you're in business to business selling, you're keeping track of these usually in some sort of system. You have a number usually in mind, what my quote to close ratio is, the proposals that I give a customer to how many actually buy that. That may be 20, 30% for a lot of companies. It's not uncommon. So it's like baseball. That means, Babe Ruth at, 300, which is an awesome baseball star. If you're batting 300, that means 75% of the time, or, the other, the other 600 or 700% of the time, you are losing. You're not, you're striking out. And so, just rejection goes hand in hand with selling. You just got to get used to this. There's no easy way to handle it. It sometimes can get under your skin. Sales and rejection go hand to hand. Facing rejection is always difficult, especially when you're, just getting started. And this is the preventer of sales excellence often is, I am afraid of failure. And you can't fear failure. You have to just get right in there and go for it. And, what often folks do is they take that rejection so super personally that they have failed. They have failed the company. And we'll talk about that in advanced selling. Yes, maybe you have failed the company. Maybe you do suck. But that's not what we're talking about now. If you're new to this game, you are not a failure yet. You haven't figured that out yet. You haven't figured out. We're not there yet. We're not saying you're a failure. Nope. You're not a failure. You're a possibility. You're just starting on the journey. And so you're full of potential. And that's why we hired you to this company, because we interviewed you. You were passionate and you had the personality for this. And don't fall apart when somebody says no. In fact, what you want to do is change the mindset that rejection is failure. Rejection is not failure. Rejection is an opportunity to learn. And when somebody says no, old school sellers tell you, hey, bud, you know what that means? That means you just haven't explained it good enough to the customer. So why don't you get back in there and try to close again? And then, so that's kind of the old school model. It's like when the customer says no, that just means that's when salesmanship begins. That means I got to get in there and overcome all those objections. And I need to, and some of that's true. We'll talk about those things later, but I'm talking about the bigger picture. When, let's say you do all that stuff and the customer still says no. So, you lost. Okay. That's okay. We move on. We learn from that at bat. What can we learn from that? And that is the mindset that we want to take. There might be 100 reasons why the customer might not be interested right now in what you're selling. Most of them have very little to do with you and you personally. It's not about you. Remember, we were talking earlier, it's all about the customer. It's all about the prospect, and they just might not be ready for this right now. It might not be the right time or place. They might have other obligations with other vendors, and so they're under contract, and so they can't change. Or, like I said, you're selling software that only works with Windows and they are a Mac shop or something like that. It's that kind of stuff that happens. A lot of times it's the luck of the draw. It has very little to do with you. It's maybe the customer just sucks and they're They're just not a good, they're idiots. Like that could be true. You know, the customer could be an idiot. That could be the other part. We're going to talk about that a little too here. The Kruger-Dunning effect, where the customer is overconfident in their own assessment of what they're doing. And so they're idiots. They just don't know yet. They haven't realized how complicated something is. And you're coming from a totally different, more mature, like understanding, and they're just not there yet. And so they need to learn. Like, so let's come back next year and put them on the follow-up list and ask them, well, how did that strategy go? You know, knowing that it's going to fail. So there's other ways. So don't let rejection defeat you. Treat it as an opportunity to grow. And when a team, I'm waiting for the Michigan State game this afternoon. I'm trying to get this done before the Michigan State game starts. The winner and the losers of those games go back, and the coaches go back and look at the game films after they're done. And they learn from mistakes and failures, and they use it as a way to improve. And so when you lose and you get that, if you're lucky enough to get good feedback from the customer and why they chose somebody else, well, guess what? You can give that feedback. You know, hey, we're a Mac shop, and we don't, your product doesn't work on our stuff. And so like you give that feedback. It's not your fault that I'm communicating that back to my product team. Hey, we lost these opportunities because of this. And so there should be reasons why you lose, and you should understand the reasons why you're losing. But, you know, you have to balance this between your passion for winning, which is incredible. Like we should feel bad. We feel bad. Like look at always, you know, sports is a great analogy. You know, somebody that stands second place on the gold medal stand when they felt that they were the one that should have won, and they didn't. And we've seen poor sportsmanship, so to speak, where people march. I'm not going to go up out there, or they look so angry and upset that they're not willing to accept defeat. And or any Super Bowl. We just watched the World Series, and the Atlanta Braves win, and the Houston Astros. You know, they pan over to those guys standing in the dugout and all the coaches, and they're the second best team in the world right now, and they're all like crying because they didn't win. You second place, you just got, you know, you have a ring. You're going to be able to tell your children I was in the World Series. And for generations, you're going to be in the books as, you know, one of the greatest teams this year, but you're second place and you didn't win, and you are bummed out. And so it's okay. It's okay. That's in our nature. We want to win everything. And that's like, if you're in selling, that's okay. If you feel a little upset, that's okay. It's okay. But don't let it defeat you. Don't let you know, it should be one of those things. Okay, I'm going to come back better than ever. Okay, we're going to learn from this. What can we learn next time? You know, and so that's exactly what the Houston Astros are going. How do we beat Atlanta next year? You know, we're going to make some trades. We're going to upskill in some of these other areas. And that's just the way it goes. You know, that's what you do. So those are your 5 awesome tips and tricks for how to, beginning sales. So with that said, we are going to take another break really quick here, and we will be right back with a stack of stuff and close it out. I hope you're having a great day. Hustleisthehack.com is the place to be. It's where all the cool kids hang out. And so we're going to take some time for another break. Talk to you later. Okay, well, that was super long, and we're almost, so I'm going to do I don't know. I don't know. I want to keep this to an hour, and now I'm almost at, I'm just close to being an hour and a half. I'm going to be close to being an hour and a half, and I do want to, I don't know. I'm looking at through my articles there's some great ones, some really great ones that are part of the this. One is Jedi Lightsaber. That's one. I think I might do that one. What do you think? Should I do that one? I think so. Nobody's watching. This isn't being streamed live. So I'm like asking the YouTube people, like you're going to give me some feedback or something like that. And you're not, unfortunately. And that's just the way that it goes. And I have so much stuff. There's so much going on out there right now. Like one of them is the ADT buying the solar panel Sun Pro for $825 million. ADT getting into the solar business. I think this is such a ground-changing thing that's happening. Like this is really going in the current administration. We see all this money going in for that. Green energy stuff. And, so it's something to be aware of. I think somebody starting new in sales, I really be considering strongly this kind of industry, green energy, as being a great place to be. And then I got the lightsaber one, which really goes along with the core values that I have when it comes to teaching folks, which is, Jedi builds your own lightsaber. Like you have to own your own stuff. You own your own entitlement, your own sense of entitlement. You own your own sense of success and failure. You own your own skill set. In the end, you have to kind of be a little selfish about how you go about your career development and think about this, because at the end of the day, it's life and death for you when you're out there fighting the fight. And your lightsaber is that. It is that. That's why the Jedis built their own lightsabers. It was unique to their style, and you make it cool for you. Plus, you get to have a color. You get to pick your own color. So. There is so many crappy job postings out there right now, so don't take a crappy job. I got one on canceling cable. That was a Saturday Night Live one, which is hilarious. It is such a hilarious one that they did a couple of weeks ago where this one here. You got to listen to this. It's hilarious. Now I need to figure out how to show it on my...
Hello. This is a callback request from Spectrum Cable. Please hold for a representative.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Hi there, this is Mateus with Spectrum Cable. Is this Brad Herman?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, and what can I help you with today, Mr. Herman?
I just need to cancel my cable.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Before we begin, would you like to add a telephone landline to your current package for $12.99 a month?
No, I'm good. I just need to cancel the cable. I tried to do it online, but they said I had to call.
Of course, Mr. Herman. May I ask the reason for the cancellation?
My girlfriend and I broke up, and I'm moving out.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry your relationship fell apart, Mr. Herman. Mr. Herman, may I ask the cause of the breakup?
No, that's personal.
Of course, Mr. Herman. Please write down this reference number in case we get disconnected. Do you have a pen and paper handy?
No, not really.
Wonderful, Mr. Herman. The number is 7, B as in boy, F as in 5, G as in 5G, and 6 as in 6 boys. Thank you. Please hold for a cancellation agent.
Your call is important
This
to
is
us
just the
and
best.
will be answered
It's
in the
hilarious.
order that we feel like.
Hi, this is Tanya. For security purposes, can you tell me the 42-digit customer PIN number that came on your first bill?
My first bill, the one I got 6 years ago, I don't have that.
Oh, not a problem. We can use one of your security questions. What city did your mom lose her virginity in?
That's disgusting. I don't want to talk about that.
It's just hilarious. And it just goes on, and it never ends. So that's a good one, because I talked about that about a week ago. So I thought that was hilarious, about how crappy the telecommunications company at losing you as a customer. They make you go through this. I just experienced this recently because I got a new line for AT&T, and they got rid of, when the gal was writing it up, she booked 2 lines. It's like, why did you do that? And so I had to cancel one of the lines. and ask for a credit back. Like, you guys billed me $80 for a month worth of service on the line that I don't even have assigned to a phone or bought. Like, why did she do that? And so this is, you know, an hour and a half later after explaining this to 14 people. It's just ridiculous. And and it's not like, you know, at my age, I've been a customer of AT&T like 14 times. I'm still a customer of AT&T. I had another line, and my internet service comes from AT&T. And yet, you know, they're making me go through all of this so they can do what this guy's going through, which is try to upsell and cross-sell me and retain me because I'm going away to thinking I'm dumping a line to go to Sprint or some other company. And so that's the whole way that they manage churn. In the cell phone business, this is the worst part of the cell phone business is customer churn, and they're really bad. I think in that first episode I did, the customer retention rate for Apple phones on AT&T is like only. It's like 68% or something like that. It's really bad. Like, that means every year about 40% of the people churn off their service. So it's a pretty big deal. Anyways, so that's one we could do. But I'm going to run out of time. I think I'm going to run out of time. So anywho, so if you're on the YouTubes here, you're going to get all these. This is my thinking process. I have one too that came up the other day because we were talking about a presentation. And who do you invite to the presentation? And the way that I like to think about it is often it's like a cocktail party. You are putting on a cocktail party is what's happening. You are going and you are having this cocktail party. And the thing about the old-fashioned cocktail parties is it's all about the guest list and who you bring in. Like, do you have a limit of people that you want to bring in, and you don't want to technically invite everybody. So what you want to do is you've got to have like the people that you're trying to introduce to other people. You have to have the mix of some people that are fun. You have to have some good looking people in there. Like, you have to kind of figure out, if you want to make this hip experience happen, you got to kind of figure out how to put the party on. So it's not just about the food or the location. It's about the guest list that you have and making sure that there's enough interaction with people and stuff like that. And so you just, you know, it's a lot about the guest being, having a carefully curated list of people that show up, and that know kind of the party etiquette, so to speak, and that's what it is all about, and that you're not monopolizing everybody's time, and you're addressing people with respect, and you're treating everybody as a VIP. But they're getting that because you pick specifically. They are all very important to making that whole thing go out, and that's how buzz is created. And so it's pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting concept of when you do presentations, do you do it to all 150 people that are going to be users, or do you just pick a few people that are going to be supporters? And so it's really interesting how you build kind of that in a customer. If you're kind of doing the business to business selling where there's lots of people that influence, you want to have influence and buzz that happens at the company. And so they're going to chat you up and they want to say, man, that presentation was awesome. You have to be able to, you got to see the thing. You got to talk, that's the kind of buzz you need at the customer. Not just here's a PO. Do you want it like a direct close? You want to create some buzz, the customer. Anyways, those are the things that we're talking about. I don't know if I'm going to have time. I don't think I'm going to have time. Don't think I'm going to have time. Zillow is getting out. The metaverse is happening. What else? What else is on the list there? I think I'm going to do the lightsaber one. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. All right, here we go. We're going to, oh no. I got the the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is really about cognitive bias and some, you know what? I'm going to do that one next week. How stupid, the customer is potentially. What do you think? Put it in your comments, I guess. Nobody's going to comment on this. This is like the third video that I've done. So there's like literally nobody's watching this at all. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny how you have to do this. You have to kind of build an audience. And so at the beginning, nobody's watching any of this stuff. And so it's just really just made up. All right. It's a bunch of made up crap for, here we go. That's hilarious. All right. Let's get my next song then. Let's this one here. No, not that one. Here we go. Okay, that's the one. I use that. The thing is, a lot of people don't realize this, but you have to, when you're doing stuff like this, the music is important, but there's a whole set of laws and rules and stuff around what gets licensed, and you have to pay for music. And so you don't want to plagiarize music. Otherwise, it's really easy for them to catch it. So you have to use certain types of music. And so this is, anyways, we're going to start right now. All right. And we're back. We're back after this awesome message for everybody. All right. We're so close to the end here. We're at 1 hour, 10 minutes or so. Hey, I think we might be able to make it. We might be able to make an hour of this. All right. Oh, what's that happening? Oh, it's my alarm going off. That's exciting. There you go. Turn off. There we go. Anyways, my name is, let's just start that again. And we're back. Thanks. We're back from the break. All right. Well, what time is it? That's what Flava Flav used to ask all the time. That was the thing. What time is it? You wear the big clock around. It's like, dude, you have a clock right on your head. Why don't you just look at that? Why are you asking me what time it is? That guy was hilarious. Flava Flav. Actually, I loved those guys. KRS-One, I love that band. KRS-One, I was such a fan of his. Still am. The guy is so super insightful. Just such clever lyrics. It was so great. They was such a good band. And what happened to them? Where are they now? Where is KRS-One when you need him? Anyways, my name is Pierre Hulsebus. Welcome to the Stack of Stuff. It's the Hustle is the Hack podcast show. And we are at the most important and critical juncture of our show, which is what I love to refer to as the Stack of Stuff, which is really a collection of sales observation, technology information, and kind of mega trends that are happening. One of the things that I think is really important is for you all, one of the best investments you can make, especially if you're in the business of business selling, you're selling into businesses, is guys, and gals, get a Wall Street Journal. Don't watch any other news. You need to get a good kind of, let's just say moderate to conservative news analysis and just news from around the world to understand kind of the things that are going on. And one of the best tools for that is literally still the Wall Street Journal. And so it is pretty cheap. You can get a subscription on your tablet for $4 a month. So it's El Cheapo. And it's great. If you're new to it, you could also a lot of times you can get the printed version. I used to get the printed version, and guess what? If you pay taxes, if you're lucky enough in this country to make enough money to pay taxes, you can deduct subscriptions from your taxes, non-taxable. So it's like getting a discount from the federal government. That is a tax deduction because it's a subscription. So actually, your subscriptions for work and business are deductible as non-reimbursed business expenses, and subscriptions are right on that list. So it's just like because you're learning something, and so we don't want to tax learning, and that is why they do that. And so there's a little bit of a subsidy for this, so it's well worth your time. And so instead of going all around the interwebs or just randomly, I found this to be a really good method for me because it just keeps me from opinion journalism, and I get to make my conclusions, and they're very light in terms of kind of analysis. They certainly do have an opinion section, and you can, take it for what it's worth, opinion sections. But I like to just read the news directly up without having to have somebody tell me what I just saw. Like I can see what I just saw and I'm smart enough to draw my own conclusions. And I find about zero benefit from most news analysis from any, and I'm telling you, any one of them, whether that's Fox News, whether that's CNN. A lot of times when I watch debates in the political season, I go to CNN, or excuse me, not CNN. I go to the C-SPAN or PBS to watch those debates because there's no commentary that happens. It's just straight up, here's the debate as if I watched it myself and was in the room. And I want to draw my own conclusions. I am not looking, I don't trust there's very few folks out there that I know, like, and trust in the media to give me any sort of political analysis or any sort of business analysis. So I like that stuff. I like to be informed, but I don't like to be preached to either. So that I found, anyways. With that said, there's some advice. $4 a month right now. You can go out and get a Wall Street Journal for a digital edition for your tablet, and just sit down there and read that. It's good. All right. So hey, what are we talking about in the stack of stuff? What we're doing right now is we usually go, as is our want during this time, what we do is we talk about three kind of the top news stories or the top stories that are happening that I saw this week that I think that are important for us to realize and kind of internalize and start to kind of put into our brain and start to consider the impact of what this is going to have. And I'm going to keep going back on these concepts around the energy business. And so this last week, home security company seeks to offer more products and services to its residents and customers, its residential customers, that is. ADT has struck a deal to buy a major solar panel installation company in a push to offer more products and services to its residential customers. So they bought a little company, ADT, bought a little company called SunPro Solar and here we go. How much is it? How much was it? What was the number? Well, $825 million. So there is so much going on right now in the energy market. And this is right on the heels of President Biden signing or getting his bill passed around the Build Back Better bill around the energy greening. Let's just call it the greening of our energy infrastructure and our energy business. Now, I've talked a lot and had a lot of different analysis around this, and there's a lot going on. There is a lot of different things to consider about the impact of what's happening, but the biggest one to think about is the repercussions of what's going to happen, because I honestly believe we have reached a spot where, whether you agree or not, that is the sound of inevitability. It is the sound of inevitability. Yes, that's what Agent Smith said to Neo in the greatest movie ever made, which is The Matrix. And in The Matrix, the train is coming down the tracks, and Neo gets his, he's in the fight with Agent Smith, and he's fighting him, and then Agent Smith got him in the chokehold, and he puts his head down to the train track, and here comes the train. You see the train coming, and he says, "Mr. Smith," or Mr. Anderson, that is the sound of inevitability. And that's what we're looking at right here. This is what I'm trying to relay to you. It is the sound of inevitability. Whether you like it or don't, whether you politically agree with it or do not agree with it, this fight is over. I'm just calling it right now. We have young people that grew up listening to Al Gore in junior high school. We all had them saw The Inconvenient Truth, and they have formed their opinion and now are in charge of stuff. And so the value of sustainability and green energy and the push towards net zero emissions, these things are going to drive our economic base. They're going to drive economies here. And a lot of changes are going to happen in our economy. It's just like when baby boomers started showing up in the hospitals and they started retiring. Everybody started moving to Florida. It's just a mega trend that happened as a result of a bunch of people getting to the retirement age. And so financial planning started happening. We see the advent and the growth of all the financial planning and banking companies right now. Look at the stock market over the last year, or not the stock market, well, the stock market relative to banking. All of the banks did really, really well. And a lot of it has to do with the generation of people that are taking their money and putting it in the banks. And the banks have more capital to work with than they've ever had before. And that is because of people getting older. And so this is a fact right now. We have the young people now that, unlike myself, who, that wasn't something that I was taught when I was younger in school, although we were taught generally, I'm a Boy Scout, so you're taught to leave the place better than you found it and to be a good steward of the ecology and take care of animals and, be a good steward, but not to the degree that we are seeing today, not to the detail level of making it actionable and systematic. And this is what's happening. It's becoming actionable and systematic. And so once we see the United States federal government say that we're going to give you $12,000 in taxes back from your taxes if you buy an electric car that's made in the United States by a union shop, that moves some needles. That changes things. That makes things happen that weren't before. So it's not just an ideal. That means now we're going to have 5 million new car chargers that are going to have to get installed around the United States. And companies are going to have to start creating electric car spaces in their parking lots and the changes that are going to happen in the economy. And so ADT just going to this is just the shape of things to come. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say. So anyways, that's kind of the stack of stuff. Like you will find in what I was talking about earlier at the beginning of this podcast about focus and doing one thing for a long period of time, like I did with computers. If I'm starting out in industry or starting out in business right now, this area right here would be one I'm really interested in. I'm going to want, if I'm starting to pick what career path I'm going to go on in selling, I'm going to want to have things that have long-term, like growth in green energy. So if it's about products that help, lower carbon emissions or improve energy production or all of these kind of things, if I can see that and see the path in the company that I'm working for, that is awesome. So this is one of the current mega trends that's happening. So anything in manufacturing or in infrastructure or skilled trades that have to do with infrastructure around energy, that is going to be a growth opportunity over the next year. It's going to be like investing in healthcare in the 90s, before the baby boom happened, before all the baby boomers started retiring. So this is where we're at. We're just before, we're at the very beginning of this process where Rivian just had a giant IPO this last week. Billions of dollars now are going into that part of the economy. And that just means you're going to see growth and growth and growth and growth. And it's just going to continue. So anyways, that's one. The other one that I wanted to talk about is I had a article about being the best cocktail party guest. And that seems a little odd. Why would that be? And I wanted to mention this because I've been working recently with training a bunch of people, and a lot of it's about training them to do presentations in a team setting and in a group setting. And a lot of the etiquette that goes with a cocktail party is very similar to what you would do if you're putting on a presentation to a customer, because you want to make that an exclusive thing. You want to make this a special experience for folks. And a lot of the success and failure of a really great cocktail party is, who do you invite? You want to limit the people that come. You don't want everybody in the neighborhood at the cocktail party. I don't want all the kids at the cocktail party. I don't want all of the grumpy people at the cocktail party. I don't want my uncle that's going to come in the MAGA hat and talk about, anti-vax, while I also have a whole bunch of people that are ultra liberal in the same room as we try to enjoy each other's fellowship. I don't want to make this a political discussion. I want this to be enjoyable. And so you want to curate the list of people that show up, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to create some buzz, create some kind of like intrigue and nuance, because once you do something like that, what's going to happen is, because you're not like doing all the selling. Do you realize that like when you're selling to a company or into a business, there's multiple people that influence that, and the opinions of those people matter, right? Most companies make their decisions. It's not like a guy in purchasing or the head purchasing lady that goes, oh, I saw your proposal and okay, we're going to go for it. Like, it's not one person that makes a decision. It's usually a committee of people. And that committee of people that have to make that decision, they all have to feel like, yeah, that's a good decision. I'm putting my name behind that. And we're acting as a team together to make that decision. That's how most decisions are made in a company. It's a group decision. And so that's why the selling that happens after you leave the room is so important. You're creating sellers there at the company that are going to do the selling for you. That is why it's a cocktail party that you're creating during your presentation. And when you show up and you're carefully curating who sees what you have, that it matches up with their values and their interests, and they're basically turning around and becoming a salesperson for you internally. They're saying, man, you got to see what these guys did. That thing is awesome. And you're creating buzz. And so that's what a great cocktail party does. There's a bit of an exclusive nature of it. Not everybody gets to come to the cocktail party. And then when the cocktail party's done, then the guy down the street talks to his neighbor that you didn't invite, and he's like, oh, dude, that was awesome. You should. I'm going to ask Pierre next time he has that party, they got to invite you, because that was great. I'm bummed that they didn't have enough space for you. And so, you kind of want to create a little bit of, if you want to create buzz at a customer, you gotta kind of curate that list a little bit around who's going to show up. And so a lot of times when we're selling, we have 2 different audiences, sometimes 3 different audiences that we're selling to at a customer. We have the technical buyers, the people that have to install the stuff and kind of support it and manage, kind of the configuration and the engineering and fitting it in their environment and making sure it supports the outcomes that the business needs. They have the right to say no to something. They usually don't have the authority, though, to actually sign the check. They're the ones that are the technical buyers here at the customer. And then you have the business buyers. They're the people that are more connected to what the outcomes for their customers are. They're looking at the big numbers and going, is this worth an investment for us? They are the ones that do have the authority to sign the check. And they're looking at the technical buyers going, would you recommend this? Yes or no? And so that's what I'm saying. All of the technical people, all they can say is yes or no. So if you get the business people in the same room as the technical people and do the pitch, the technical people, they're going to have all their technical objections, which is fine, because you kind of need those, because you want to overcome all of those objections or misunderstandings to make sure you're aligned with their system and that it will work, and that they're going to be happy with your product as it goes forward, and that team is going to be on your side and they're going to be advocates for you. And so that's the kind of the rough patch, so to speak, that we often go through. It's not the buyers at the business side. They're often willing to make the investment up front. It's the technical people that are putting brakes on the thing, going, no, it's not that stuff is old. We don't want that. We've heard about those guys before. There's 14 companies that failed trying that. Like, the technical buyers are the ones that, so if I'm having a cocktail party, I'm going to want to bring all the business people and some technical buyers that are cool, that like me. Like, that's who's showing up to those meetings. And I'm trying to weed out who my detractors are on the technical side. Anyways, it's a little bit of, like I was saying, putting on a cocktail party is kind of the mindset to have, that you want to curate that list of people that show up, and you want the cool kids. You want all the cool people in that room. That's what creates the buzz. All right, the last one on the list, and we are like, get on with it, Hulsebus, already. Come on, you've been on this for a long time. So let's move forward with the other one. The last one, I'm going to end the show with this awesome analogy, and it is, I have a poster right over here, this poster in my room. I'm pointing to my Empire Strikes Back poster there. Star Wars. No, it's the original, the OG Star Wars picture poster. I have two of them in my office. I love Star Wars. I remember going with Todd Visser in 1977 to Woodland Movie Theater on 28th Street out by Woodland Mall. And when I was 12, going to see Star Wars. I mean, like now I'm 55 years old, or 56. I don't even know how old I am at this point. Like 55, 56 years old. You know, that time really still sticks in my head, and it inspired so many of people of my generation to think so much bigger. It's such a cool, kind of experience, not only from a sci-fi kind of world, but they created such an awesome lore and such a great hero for us to follow. And so anyways, we always loved Star Wars. But one question that I have for you is, how does a Jedi master get their lightsaber? And it's one of the most iconic weapons in the galaxy, far, far away. And it's that spiritual samurai warrior, right? That's the idea. Like there's something bigger than themselves. Like they're fighting for good against evil. And the Jedi is both a military order, which was kind of cool, like fight and stuff like that. But there's a religious, component to this, a spiritual component. And so they are absolutely packed with all sorts of kind of religious rules, if you will. So from fighting to falling in love to every aspect of a Jedi's life, it's all controlled by different rules and kind of things that they have, guidelines in life. And some interesting discussions is, that can spawn out of that. Now, one of the requirements for a Jedi, though, is they must personally craft their own lightsaber. The lightsabers were first introduced in the Star Wars films, but their construction was first conceptualized, and then it got deleted actually in the Empire Strikes Back, or the Return of the Jedi. It was in a movie, and later on shown in the Clone Wars and the games, like the Fallen Order, showed you how this all occurs. But at the end of the day, it's all about crafting that lightsaber. And you're asking, Pierre, what does this have to do with selling, and why is this important? I think it's an important thing for this. You have to own it, my friend. You need to own it. And at the end of the day, a Jedi is fighting for his or her life. They are fighting for their life. They're in the fight of their life against, people that hate them. And this is what often happens. You are in that fight. You are the man in the arena, as they say. You are in the fight. That is the 30% of the time you're winning, and the other 70% of the time you're getting rejected. This is what happens in selling. So you are in a fight to win. And so what that Jedi has is he's got his skill set and he's got his lightsaber. And so he owns his lightsaber. He's built it for, and it's crafted for his particular purpose, for his particular style. It reflects not only how cool it is to have a lightsaber, and has an intimidation effect to it, but it has a certain utility to it. And so it's the same thing when it comes to your sales skills. You own it. You don't have to look to your company. It's great that companies support folks and hire people like myself to come out and help people learn how to sell and what sales is all about. But at the end of the day, you, my friend, own your lightsaber. You build it. It comes through years of knowledge and training and understanding and getting better at it over time and kind of going back. It's like a project that's never finished. You keep working on it. And whether that's getting rejected or whether that's getting the kudos and having an awesome day and having that's my little award that I was showing you earlier, hey, you won the Superstar of the Month kind of award at the company. Like those are the kind of things that help you on your journey to encourage you to keep going and to get better and better and better at it. And the thing is, it's a life or death struggle for many of us in that we don't want to be that first loser. Obviously, in the Star Wars canon and in their story, when you meet your arch nemesis, one of you is going to not walk away from that field of battle. You're dead. Like there's no second place here. You don't get a consolation prize if you lose a fight. You are dead meat, baby. And so it's not that extreme, of course, but you need to make sure that your skill set that you have is your own. You own it. You own the sense of feeling intimidated in a meeting. That's on you. That's on you. That's not like, hey, don't say offensive words to me because that intimidates me from my job. It's like, okay, well, then you're not going to be very successful because some people want to be in control of you and they want to be in control of the sale. So if you're easily intimidated by people that are intimidating, that's on you to figure out. You're not going to be able to tell a prospect, can you be less intimidating to me? Like you're out of there. Like they don't want to talk to you if that's the attitude you're going to take. So you own every part of this. And that's the difficult component that's why selling is such an interesting game and a career, because it's like being in sports many times. You can always get better. There's always room to improve this. There's always a place that I can get better at doing this. And crafting your lightsaber is what you got to do. You got to own it, baby. Well, I'll say it. I said it before. I'll say it again. That's why I say you're a promise. If you're just starting out, I'm so glad for you that you're starting out on this journey. That you're getting in the fight. And you're building your own lightsaber. You can do this. I know it. And I hope you have a great week. And I'll talk to you guys real soon. Hustle is the hack. Check out the website. Thank you. I'm leaving. Goodbye. Well, that's the podcast right there. That's the whole thing. And we just recorded it all onto disc. And so you are going to see this hopefully on, well, maybe, no one's ever going to watch this. I know this one here. This is like podcast number 1 on YouTube. So nobody is going to see this. So I can just, if you did see it, if you've gone this far on that podcast online, let's see I'm looking here. We've been on the air for 1 hour and 36 minutes. So we would call this a long form podcast, live stream kind of situation. And this is what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to live stream it. I have to do a couple things here in the live stream to make it cool, because I don't have a lot of cool stuff that I'm doing yet with this. I will do some more cool stuff because right now it's just a talking head for an hour and a half, and that's a little boring on video. But nonetheless, let's get it rolling. I really appreciate you if you're watching on the podcast, and you can like or you subscribe, you make comments. If you don't like what I said, that's fine. I appreciate it. If you have any tips, if you don't like my outfit today, if you think I need to shave my beard off, it's Movember, so I'm not shaving my beard. So it's looking really scruffy right now. If you don't think I should be wearing headphones, which I am, I like wearing headphones because I'm trying to listen to how awesome it sounds, because I have an audio podcast. That's why you have headphones like this. And I don't have a sound engineer. So if I had a sound engineer, I would just wear little earbuds or something like that. But I need to hear the quality of the sound and all this stuff coming in. So that's why the headphones for now. At least for now, let's see how maybe we can get some little better headphones or something like that aren't a bit obtrusive. This is my studio here. Like I said, I work at home. I've worked at home for 10 years. And so what you're seeing here is my home studio. I want to give a tour in a couple of weeks of the home studio and kind of what it looks like and kind of what's involved, because I think for some people it's really interesting as a technical sales specialist, what you have to do today to get your job done. It's complicated. Trust me, it's complicated. To be able to put on that cocktail party for 100 people, but do it from this room over Teams. That is not an easy thing to do. And in fact, that's kind of how I got into the whole podcast thing, because it really has to do with, having all the right tools here to be able to bring in different streams of data from different devices at the right time to be able to transition over to hardware for demos, to be able to keep track of time, so that we're on time and stuff like that. And so there's a lot to learn and do inside of the studio, just from the equipment. What kind of hardware am I using? Podcasting machines, microphones, the way the computers are set up, my lighting, all this kind of stuff. So, we love a lot. I don't know if you're like me, but I like to watch different YouTubers and stuff like that. And there's so many YouTubers that talk about the hardware part of the business, of streaming. And so a lot of it's like self-fulfilling, like, hey, this is the coolest, like, this is the mic and here's how this mic works. Here's like, so I have it, for example, I have a new mic here. So here's my new mic that I've got right here that I use. This mic right here. So get out of the frame here. I'm doing horrible with this. All right. Like, there you go. There's my mic. There's the mic right there. So I have this mic right here. This is one of the mics that I use every day. And so it's, it's on a stand and it sits over here. It's a shotgun mic. And I decided not to go with like a Rode video mic and stuff like that, because I wanted something that was more permanent. And so we have a hypercardioid. This is a Audio Technica is what this is, and so that's that one, and this is the box for that. It's a I like the Audio Technica. It's the AT7875R is what it is. That's the mic. It comes in this little box, and it's I like the Audio Technica mics. They are Japanese. Audio Technica is a Japanese company. And so the quality build is just tremendous. They're very good. In fact, my regular broadcast quality mic that I use is also an Audio Technica mic. They don't do a lot of marketing, and that's the thing it's really interesting. They don't do a lot of marketing in the United States, and so that's why they don't really show up a lot of times on those kind of top 10 list of the greatest mics of all time type of a thing, and not a lot of people do reviews of them. But the quality that they have in their product is really high quality. And the thing with microphones, which is really interesting, is it is an old piece of technology. Like, microphones are not, there's not a lot of new technology in microphones. The standard microphone that everybody starts with is the Shure SM58 and the 57. Those stand for the years that they were invented. So those mics that are really some of the most popular mics in the industry are literally like 70 years old in terms of their design. So the microphone technology has not really advanced a lot to get really great audio quality. And what's happened is there's a lot more features on the mics that make them maybe easier to hook up or something like that. But in terms of sound quality or durability, especially in a studio, a really well-built professional microphone does not have to be, $800. That mic there, I bought on eBay used for like $150, and that easily competes against broadcast quality. Like, that's a broadcast professional studio mic that you would buy 10 of them if you owned a studio. People do voiceovers with that mic. Same thing with this little Hummer right here. This Audio Technica mic right here is the AT2020. Very popular microphone. Also for that purpose. It is a dynamic microphone, which is the reason that when I put it up to my mouth, it sounds so bassy and wonderful. And the mics have this system called proximity effect. And so when I get my voice closer to the mic here, you get a better bass response. And so when I'm doing a podcast like this, because I'm having audio, I want the audio part, because we're in somebody's headphones, we want that headphone experience to have a just a tremendous bass response and a good resonant tone to it. So dynamic mic will always give you that kind of quality. And so there's different dynamic mics, but it's important that you have a dynamic mic for this. So a dynamic mic doesn't just plug into your USB on your computer. It's an analog piece of equipment. And so I want to have that audio chain sound awesome all the way to the last moment where I have to convert it to digital. And so that is happening inside of another device that we'll talk about later. I use a Roadcast system, and there is an awesome set of analog tooling inside of that device that has a what's called an Apex Aural Exciter in it, and we can talk a little bit about that. But that helps give this a broadcast quality FM voice that I don't actually have in real life. So we're doing a little. This is like a beautiful actress or a Tom Cruise, getting makeup or something like that. This is the equivalent of that for audio. Is that it's a little makeup. It's kind of giving you a better audio experience if you are a listener, and that's what it's really all about. Is accentuating the dulcet tones of Pierre Holsebus's voice. And so anyways, those are some of the gear right now that I'm using in my studio. I haven't done any broadcast stuff with this mic here. Like I said, it sits on a stand. It's like arm's length away, and I can tell you how it sounds because it's right here. I can switch over to that. Switch over to this mic here and get that beautiful sound. And so again, it's just what we're doing here in the context of what we're putting together. So that is a little bit of the microphone quality stuff. I do also use I thought I had it up here. Oh, I do. No, I don't have one up here. Like I said, the other one that's used all the time is the Shure SM58s. I have about 5 of those. Those are about $7,500 mics, and you can buy brand new ones. But again, this is where eBay is awesome. A microphone of that design and quality they get beat up all the time. They go up on the road, and these are the microphones that you see like Journey singing with or some band singing with. Like these mics have been around for a long time. They're very rugged. They don't need a lot of electricity. It doesn't require a fancy booster or anything like that. It has a really good quality, and they're just indestructible. So that's why they are really great on eBay. So you don't have to buy brand new ones of those mics either. So I don't think any of the mics that I have, although I think this one I did buy brand new. And so it's about $250, I think, maybe. So yeah, I hate thinking about all of the money that I ended up putting in to all the equipment that we have. But again, what we're really talking about here is I'm trying to preach what I live, because I'm really preaching the whole, like, you have to own it. Like, so I own all of this equipment. I work for a big company, bam. And none of this has ever been expensed. I don't use any of this. I do use it in work, but it's all my equipment. None of this has ever been paid for by my employer or anything like that. The look of my studio reflects my personality. The camera that I use, is also a very substantial investment. This is coming out of another one that's interesting. I guess I'm kind of an iconoclastic in this. I don't like to follow the crowd. So it's not a Sony. It's not a Canon. It's not a Panasonic. It's not a Fuji. It is a Nikon. I'm using a Nikon Z6 Mark II camera. which is a fancy high-end, well, I wouldn't say high-end. It's not the highest end camera that they have, but one down from the top of their line camera. So they're not an inexpensive investment, the cameras. But I love photography, and so I wanted to use, kind of the camera that I could just take. I could use it during the day here for work, but on the weekend it easily comes off the tripod, and I can put lenses on it, and I can take it on a trip and take awesome pictures with me around as we go along. So that's the camera, and then you've got the right lenses to go along with that, and a teleprompter that I'm looking at right now, and a fancy filter to make all my acne and my old wrinkly face look better, and to make the video part look better in this. And I think it looks pretty good. I don't know. This is when I tried this filter. I'm trying the filter, what's called a Pro Mist filter, which Black Pro Mist filter. And it kind of softens the background is what it does, and I like the look of it. But it's primarily because when I start looking at my face in 4K or 1080p on this really beautiful digital camera, it doesn't look cinematic enough to me, and I'd like that kind of softer cinematic look anyway. So I thought that we'll see. I don't know. We're gonna continue. You can still see I got a scruffy face and some blemishes, but hey, I'm just a regular guy like everybody else. I'm not my Brad Pitt or something. I'm not. I bet you even Brad Pitt gets a zit every once in a while. But you'd think at 56 years old I'd be done with that. Like, why am I still? I don't know. It's just crazy. I don't know why I'm still having this stuff. Anyways, well, this is the post-show component of the podcast, and so we're just chatting. Anyways, I'm gonna scoot. This is done. We're out of here. Podcast is done. I'm going to turn it off. Adios.